For centuries, Russia's greatest ally has been winter. It froze Napoleon's army into statues, crushed Hitler's tanks into rusting steel, and guarded the motherland with snow and silence. But one icy night, that fortress turned traitor. At 2:47 a.m., on a frozen plain above the Vulga River, a Russian radar operator blinked at his screen. A faint flicker, a few dots dancing between gusts of snow. He dismissed them as squalls forming over the steppe. Harmless. Ordinary. He didn't know those blips weren't snow at all. They were drones, Ukrainian-built, AI-guided, and carrying enough explosives to cripple a region. They weren't fighting the storm. They were riding it. The story begins in the depths of winter, a season Russia has always believed to be its most unbreakable shield. In military academies, cadets study the lessons of 1812 and 1941, the bitter cold that starved empires and shattered armies. And for generations, that myth of invincibility held strong. The idea that when winter came, Russia was untouchable. But the world had changed. Wars were no longer fought with millions of soldiers trudging through snow. They were fought with code, satellites, and machines small enough to fit in the back of a truck. That's where Ukraine found its opportunity. 2 weeks before that cold February night, a small group of Ukrainian engineers and intelligence officers began planning what they quietly called the Wind Weaver Cascade. Their goal, to strike the Veska Substation, a $200 million node in Russia's power grid that pumped over 2 million kilowatts into central Russia. It wasn't just a target, it was a symbol of Russia's industrial heart, believed to be invincible under layers of defenses and the protection of the brutal Volga winter. But that same winter would soon become the weapon that brought it down. At 11:47 p.m., 5 Loity drones lifted off from a secret Ukrainian airfield. Their mission was mathematically impossible. The target was 710 miles away, nearly 100 beyond their fuel range. The cold alone could freeze their batteries solid, and between them and their goal stretched one of the most heavily defended skies on Earth. But these drones weren't designed to survive. They were designed to outthink. As they skimmed low over the frozen border, the lead drone exhaled a fine mist, a vapor so subtle it blurred them into a single haze on radar. To Russian eyes, they looked like nothing more than drifting snow. It was the first move of the Wind Weaver Cascade, a tactic blending physics, AI, and deception into one ghostly disguise. For 2 hours, the formation crept through Russian airspace, surfing on the same 40-mile-per-hour crosswinds that would have destroyed most aircraft. Instead of fighting the gusts, their onboard AI adapted, using thousands of micro-adjustments to the wings, turning chaos into propulsion. Their range extended by nearly a third. The impossible distance now seemed possible, but stealth never lasts forever. At 1:47 a.m., a Russian Nebo-M radar picked up a strange, slow-moving anomaly over the Volga, a 2-meter-wide cloud of particles with no logical explanation. Seconds later, a Pantsir S-1 battery received orders. Investigate. A missile tore through the night sky at Mach 3. It didn't hit one target. It hit the center of the mist. The explosion shredded one drone instantly, scattering shrapnel and vapor in every direction. For the first time that night, the illusion shattered. 4 drones remained, now fully exposed to Russian defenses. Inside a command bunker, the Russian crew locked onto them. 4 solid blips racing across their screen. A second missile prepared for launch. But the Ukrainian AI had anticipated this moment. Instead of running, the drones banked hard, turning 90 degrees, flying sideways to the radar beam. To a human eye, that seemed suicidal. To a Doppler radar, it was genius. The radar calculates velocity toward or away from the receiver. By flying perpendicular, the drones appeared almost stationary. The Russian screen went blank, 4 bright targets vanishing into electronic noise. For the first time, Russia's expensive air defense system was staring at nothing. But silence in war is dangerous, because when one set of eyes goes blind, another opens. 200 miles away, a Beriev A-50 early warning aircraft, Russia's flying radar fortress, picked up new orders. Its sensors scanned the dark landscape below. Against the frozen earth, 4 glowing dots appeared, heat signatures from drone engines. It didn't fire, it simply passed the coordinates back to the ground. The next missile wasn't guided by radar, it was guided by heat. An infrared seeker locked onto the lead drone. Pathfinder. This time, physics offered no easy escape. Heat can't be jammed or hidden. At 1:52 a.m., Pathfinder's AI initiated its final gamble, Winter Ghost Mode. A small pod detached from its underside, igniting a chemical compound engineered to burn at exactly 200 degrees Celsius, the same temperature as the drone's engine. To the missile, both looked identical. Pathfinder cut its engine and dove, gliding silently through the storm. The missile closed in, confused between two perfect signals. It chose wrong. The night sky erupted in a white flash as the missile struck the Decoy. Miles below, Russian crews cheered, convinced they had scored a kill. But moments later, Pathfinder reignited, climbing through the smoke. A ghost reborn. Now nothing stood between them and the target. At 2:47 a.m., the order came from Kiev. Engage. The remaining drones converged on the Veska substation, racing through the wind like steel arrows. Each carried a 130-pound warhead tuned for one specific purpose, not to explode on impact, but to fracture. The explosives were set with a 0.8-second delay, timed to detonate after penetrating the frozen joints of the massive pylons. When they hit, the results were catastrophic. At sub-zero temperatures, steel doesn't bend, it shatters. 4 simultaneous detonations turned the substation into a blizzard of sparks and steel. The transmission lines, each thick as a baseball bat, snapped like brittle twigs. The sound echoed across the Volga like thunder. Within seconds, 500 megawatts of power disappeared from the grid. Cities across central Russia plunged into darkness. Firefighters raced to the scene, but there was little to save, only burning pylons and a 20-foot crater. For 6 hours, 500,000 homes were without power. Military networks went dark. Command lines fell silent. Tanks and artillery batteries across the region froze in place, their systems lifeless, their crews waiting for orders that never came. In Kiev, the operation room fell quiet. 5 drones had taken off. 1 had been lost. 4 had changed the course of a night, and possibly the war. When morning came, satellite images told the story. Blackouts stretching for miles, substation towers shattered like glass, and a stunned Russian military scrambling to explain how a handful of cheap drones had broken their illusion of winter invincibility. It wasn't just a tactical success, it was a message. In modern warfare, victory doesn't always belong to those with the biggest weapons. Sometimes it belongs to those who think differently, to the engineers who turn storms into fuel and data into wings. For centuries, Russia's greatest ally was the cold. But on that night over the Volga, Ukraine turned the cold itself into a weapon. And as dawn broke over the frozen plains, the world saw a new truth, that courage, ingenuity, and code can sometimes cut deeper than steel. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell, so you don't miss the next deep dive into the unseen stories shaping modern warfare. This documentary was made possible by our sponsor, Brilliant, where you can explore the science, physics, and engineering behind real-world innovations like autonomous drones and adaptive flight systems. Start learning smarter today with the link in the description, because in a world where technology is rewriting the rules of war, knowledge is the most powerful weapon of all.